the meeting to order. The Legislative Rules Committee, October 24th, 2017, 11:42 a.m. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the prior meeting, September 26, 2017? Moved by Supervisor Sokol, seconded by Supervisor Leggett. All those in, any discussion or any changes or any amendments? Hearing none. All in favor of the minutes as proposed, say aye.
Aye.
Appears to be unanimous. All right, the agenda item. This is, we have talked about this before. We talked about it in August, where we were talking about two Board of Supervisors resolutions passed in 2009 in reference to the 911 surcharge revenue and their distributions, and that the county should receive possibly a greater share of those revenues and help carry the costs of the county's 911 system. And then we talked about a 2012 Board of Supervisors resolution referred to a 1991 New York State legislative enactment where there would be a monthly surcharge of 70 cents on your cell phone bills, and that was increased generally to $1.20 for your cell phone bills. And I'll get back to that in a minute, but I did Google the issue, and I found some interesting perspectives, and I'll share those with you. One is from the New York Post. Phone taxes are sell hell. You can't hang up on the tax man. 11 federal, state, and city of tax levies are as much as 33%, adding as much as 33% to the cost of the New Yorker's cell phones. A typical plan costing about $50 a month has a cell phone bill of $10.59, or about 21.18% tax rate. In any event, so I went to the Department of Public Services and see what kind of telecommunications taxes and surcharges they have. They have a federal excise tax, they have the E91 surcharge, they have the Public Safety Communications surcharge, they have a municipal surcharge, New York State Gross Revenue Tax surcharge, FCC subscriber line charge, Federal University Service Fund recovery charge, MTA tax surcharge, local number portability surcharge, and other charges like the prescribed inter-exchange carrier exchange charges, intrastate access recovery charge, carrier cost recovery charge. New York City has its own. Okay, then I found something of interest. Oneida County, talking about taxes, they're going to impose one that will favor the county. So the New York State budget allows counties to revamp their local 911 surcharges on cell phones, and Oneida County is making plans to take advantage of the situation. The end result will likely be a new fee paid to the county by cell phone users. County Executive Tony Pacente, did I pronounce that right? Will submit a local law to the Board of Legislators to enact a 30-cent monthly fee on cell phones, both prepaid devices and ones covered by service plans with wireless carriers, to help offset the annual costs of running the county's 911 communications center. So they're expecting about another $1 million in new revenue. Some of my notes, just to get you reviewed, and then I'm going to ask Under Sheriff Lamore to add to this. All right, where do we want to go? We've got to keep this in mind, I think. The NG 911, which is the next generation 911 system, which will replace the enhanced and the 911. And the new system will do, among other things, pinpoint the location of the caller, It will also integrate and interoperate with emergency services in a large geographic region. Now, pushing this along is what they're calling FirstNet, which is a First Responder Network Authority, where they want to put in high-speed, nationwide, wireless network dedicated to public safety. And that whole thing is required to be self-funding. So the new technology upgrade for just New York State is expected to be $22 billion in the next 10 years. It's very expensive moving this forward. So the most common funding of that has been the surcharge on telephone subscribers within a specified service area. And this is collected by service provider, and New York State has 3 charges. Okay, the one that we're talking about is a $1.20 fee. Now, out of that $1.20, it doesn't all go to 911 and its future. 50 cents of the $1.20 goes back into the general fund and to be used however. The other 70 cents of the $1.20 goes to a variety of public safety things, not just promoting and building the new 911 system. All right, we realize that there are some problems in this formula, and Sheriff Lamore, do you want to elaborate a little bit more on this topic?
No, go ahead, Sean. And it's Lamoury.
Lamoury.
Lamoury. Been here for quite a while. It's still Lamoury. So, it's probably not in the correct order, but the one thing I want to touch on is, as Director LaFleur is aware of, I went to a meeting about 2 months ago. We met with the people that are pushing out this FirstNet. And I don't remember what the entire cost of it was, and this basically comes out as a result of what happened on 9/11. The communications need to be fixed. The government needs to do more to ensure the safety of the public and first responders. They talked about what they're going to do as far as coverage, cellular coverage, and they put up a map of the state of New York. When they put up the map of the state of New York, you saw these 2 white areas on the map. One was the Catskills, the other was the Adirondack Mountains. Do you know what those white areas meant? White space? No white space.
No coverage?
No coverage. So Adirondacks, pretty big place. They said they're going to put up a total of 9 towers to fix the Adirondacks. Do you really think 9 towers wouldn't fill in Warren County?
8 million
For all the
acres.
dead spots. So if you think FirstNet initiative you're gonna see much effect in Warren County, I'm not seeing it right now. We also looked at it from the perspective, is it going to help our radio system? That was my chief concern. And at no point in time will FirstNet be a replacement for land-based mobile radios. Would you agree with that, Brian? You know more about that stuff than I do. So it's great that you touched on FirstNet. Just know that I don't think we're going to see much out of it in the near future. As far as the 911 surcharge money, the reason the surcharges were put out there, and I know you referenced a whole bunch of taxes. I don't know if those are taxes on our phones up here in upstate New York or taxes on somebody's phone down in New York City. But I can tell you the point of having these taxes was to help support the PSAPs. Warren County Sheriff's Office is the PSAP for Warren County. The money that we used to get out of that $200 million was about $30,000 a year. Do you think that's really supporting our PSAP, $30,000 a year? Our budget is over $2 million just for the PSAP. Then they changed the formulas. They did these public safety answering point sustainment grants. I think year 1 we got $174,000, year 2 we got $168,000. We're in year 3, spending year 3's money at $173,000. The benefit to the county is this. There's equipment that we're able to replace in there that I would have to go to the budget officer and to the budget committee and to our committee to seek funds. So it's helped defray the cost of that. It's helped defray the cost of overtime because things that we haven't necessarily had enough money to replace a piece of equipment, we've put it towards overtime and the county's gotten reimbursed for that. How else has this surcharge benefited us? It paid for some radio work back in, I believe it was 2010, to the tune of $736,000. Since then, we were awarded $425,000, which paid for the upgrade of our 911 equipment. Here's the real-life issue. Like anything, when you buy something, it does not last forever. This equipment is extremely expensive. We spent right around $400,000 to upgrade our 911 system. We're entering into year 5. The recommendation is that you upgrade it every 5 years. I'm hoping that they don't come back and say that we have to now spend another $400,000. But the reality is we might have to. That remains to be seen. More recently, we were awarded in a statewide interoperability grant. We were awarded $523,375. That money is going towards upgrading the existing radio sites, transmitter sites that we have. Equipment in the background. There's also money in there to pay for a consultant to come in and assist us with this project and some other maintenance issues with the equipment. But in the grand scope of things, remember, New York State takes in $200 million year after year after year. How much of that is really coming back to Warren County? And the other thing is, there's no guarantee what monies we get. When we apply for like the $523,000, we're competing against other counties, other municipalities, and they actually grade your applications. And I know, Brian, you're involved with that process. Is that an accurate statement?
I'm on the board, yeah.
So Brian sees firsthand what happens. We feel, as the Sheriff's Office, we should be getting more money. The county as a whole should be getting more money from these surcharge taxes. I know the Sheriff has brought it up in 2009, early in his administration here at the Sheriff's Office. I don't know what's going to change it at the state level. It's not unique to Warren County. This is statewide. Other Sheriff's offices as well struggle with it, and I believe, Sheriff, this was addressed by the New York State Sheriff's Association.
Yeah, and the scary thing about it is this is something, I became sheriff in 2008, and this is something that the Sheriff's Association had been working on for years prior to that, but I think there was the problem is that when they started these 911 monies, it was to be targeted for the 911 centers, the PSAPs. That's what it was for. So you would think $200 million collected by the state given to the counties. Well, they don't do that because what they did was, and I'll give you a copy of this, John, so you can have it for your committee, but what they did, New York State tax law, 186F56, is the lawyers were smart where those monies went to. And it says the deposits of surcharge monies collected and received, notwithstanding any provision of law. To the contrary, all surcharge monies collected and received by the Commissioner under this section must be deposited to the daily credit of controller in a specific account, separate from all other monies that the state has. Okay, they're very specific on how they word that. Section A, after they says the controller, after reserving the amount to pay refunds, must on or before the 10th day of each month pay all surcharge monies collected and received under this section remaining to the controller's credit as follows. First thing that they tell you is with those monies, 41 7/10 of the revenues collected, so I would assume 42% of the $200 million is to be sent into the state's general fund. So they steal that money right from the get-go by law and put it into the fund that they can use, the governor and the legislator can use that money. So right there, what's 41% of, figured out, it's $200 million. And then they give you some more what they're supposed to do with it. And then they tell you that $75 million of that may be used for the provision of grants or reimbursements to the counties for development, consolidation, and operation of public safety. That's the key issue right there. So they're saying of that $200 million, they take 42% right off the top, and I know they give the New York State Police, I think, $25 million. They give the state police more than they give all the counties, but Then they tell the counties, all right, $75 million is for you, divvy it up. And then they figure out a formula. That's just plain wrong. I've been screaming at this for years, and we're not getting anywhere in Albany with this. So I'll leave you a copy of this, John, so you can see what they do with those monies. It's not fair to the counties. I don't know what can be done. I know we've been screaming about it for years. A few years back, one of our sheriffs, who's chair of one of our boards, thought they had a deal worked out with the Senate and the Congress on being more fair with the monies to the counties, but that went away because his deal was made with one of the senators who left. So it's very sad. They're giving us more monies now, but we still have to compete for them in grants. Is that correct?
That's accurate, sure.
And Brian, what can you add? You're on the board down there. You're on the board of this 200 million, where it goes?
I am. The Governor's Interoperability and Communications Board is part of the group that oversees these dollars and where they go. The sheriff is exactly correct. $75 million out of all the money that is collected, only $75 million is used for actually communications. And it gets worse from there. Sean's talking about the PSAPs. Of that $75 million, $45 million is used for upgrading and creating radio systems, which we have been able to get some of that money, but not a lot. $20 million is used for what they call targeted grants, which means the $20 million, they, down in Albany, decide that this county needs to add this, and this piece needs to be added over here. So what's truly going to the PSAPs, what Sean's bringing up, $10 million per year.
Out of 200 million.
Out of 200 million.
It's wrong. It's just wrong.
And it's too bad because of the 200 million, I'm not sure if they're still doing it, but for a long time the federal government was fining the state of New York for stealing the money, and the state of New York would just let the federal government take a piece of that 200 million as a fine. The federal government goes, hey, that's great, we're getting free money. And the state didn't care because, okay, instead of 200, we got 190, whatever it is. It's ridiculous.
It's ethically wrong. It's like, in the old days, back in the old days when I was a young trooper, the Canadians would come down and they'd speed. What was the cost of doing business for them? There was no reciprocity with the United States, so they'd say, yeah, give me a ticket, and they wouldn't answer the ticket. So I stopped one guy, got a ticket in Clifton Park, one in Falklands Falls, and I was the third one in Schroon Lake within an hour period. Yeah, give it to me, I'll put it in my pocket. Well, fortunately for me, he showed me it. I said, oh, okay, well, we're going to give your money now, and I took him immediately before the judge, and we at least got some money. We didn't have the reciprocity, you didn't have the answer. That's why the state doesn't mind paying the federal government the fines, because the fine is less than what they should be giving the counties.
What's unfortunate, when this originally was put forth, it said on your bill, it very specifically said 911 surcharge. You will see now it no longer says that. The governor, in his infinite wisdom about 4 years ago in his budget proposal, allowed them to change the terminology on your bill. It says public safety surcharge. It no longer says 911 surcharge, which means to take money for the state police or all the other things that they want to do. They've made it okay.
One thing I give you to think about, if they were just being fair, just fair, and I know there are other counties bigger and they spend more money on their PSAP, but if you were just going to be fair with every county, how many counties do we have? 62 counties? 60?
Including New York City.
Okay, so just let's use 60 counties. You got 60 counties. You collected $200 million. You as the state would say, okay, you counties, we're just going to split it up. We're going to give you each $2 million each. That's $120 million. They still got $80 million left over. If you took $2 million in Warren County, you know what that would do to this budget? That would pay for our 911 center. We wouldn't have to collect any taxes every year. That's unconscionable that they don't do something like that. To me, that's fair. You'd get the bigger county saying, well, we want more than $2 million. But I think it's at the point now where every county would say, okay, Little Essex County, you get $2 million, that's okay. Monroe County, we're getting $2 million. It's better than what we're getting now.
In today's conversation and past conversations, I'm hearing three things that could be action items that we can move forward on. One is to ask the state for a better formula in that $1.20 fee, and that new formula would better distribute more money to the counties, somehow, some way. I'm hearing that. I'm also hearing from past discussion that what we could do is urge the state to capture revenue from prepaid services and have maybe that revenue or more of that revenue dedicated to the 911 system.
That legislation was just passed, John.
Okay?
They finally, it's taken a long time. The 911 Coordinators Association, of which we are members, is very, very adamant, and they've been working, I don't know, 15 years on this. That is one thing that they were able to just pass, so that when a Walmart sells a telephone that does not include service, or is a straight talk or something like that, that surcharge is built into the price of the phone. So you get that money up front.
Does that money go to the same pool where 50% of the money goes back to the legislator to use in any way they want?
I believe so.
Yeah, 41.7%, yeah, it probably does.
And only the remaining 70%, not specific to 911 generation, but to any public service, emergency services. But the
Important to
also,
know there are 8 states in the United States that do this, that are responsible for stealing the money. Only
Yeah.
8. Unfortunately, 4 of them are contiguous with New York State. It's pretty scary what they're doing. The feds are trying really hard. The FCC is coming down on them, but they just haven't been able to make that work.
are you talking about the revenue from the prepaid devices?
No, I'm talking about the total amount.
Of the
The 911
$1.20 and the-
surcharge.
and
There are
the-
8 states in the United States that are doing the same thing New York is doing. And some of them are taking more percentage than New York State is.
All right. And the third item was that we could follow the path of Oneida County and add, as they did, a 30-cent charge. And I guess 55 other of the 62 counties are doing the same thing, that Oneida is just one of the newest ones, of enacting a new fee for cell phone users. And that was 30 cents. And they expect in Oneida County that that will generate about $1 million in the first year.
Yeah,
Yes,
John.
Sheriff York?
Yeah, John, I see that, but the state loves that, I'm sure. You collect your own money, we're gonna keep ours, we're gonna keep our 200 million. You get your million, you charge your own tax. It's just another way of taxation of the people.
That's why I started off. I mean, you know, we can tax and tax and tax and tax. And is that the way to go? That's kind of why I brought up that New York Post article. You know, how do you solve the problem? Do you get the state to turn around on their formula and their distribution of that $1.20 and so more of it comes back to Warren County so we can help pay for our 911 system and move it forward into the next gen? Anyways, Supervisor Bramer?
Thanks. Do we know if there's any advocacy right now on this issue, trying to get the state? I know you mentioned an agreement that fell through with the senator who wasn't there anymore. Is there anything like that ongoing?
The biggest advocacy was the New York State Sheriff's Association and the...
911 Coordinators Association.
I'm on the executive board, and we haven't discussed it in a while because we weren't getting anywhere. So I don't know where that presently sits. We certainly can check with the 911 to see what they're... I know they're still active in it, and I know we sort of are, but there are other issues that we've been dealing with. I don't know if we've gotten anywhere. I think where we've gotten is this law. The only way you're going to change it is the legislators in Albany need to change this taxation law
Right.
to where the money goes. And that was the feeling I got, that most of the state wanted to do it, but the majority of the legislators from down near New York City don't want to change it. So
They have.
they've got the numbers.
Both congressmen and senators have brought this forward to fix this problem year after year, and year after year it gets shot down.
Are our state legislators doing that?
I can't answer that for you, for sure. I'm not sure.
You'd have to ask them. We brought it to their attention. I know we brought it to Betty and Dan in the past, so, I don't I don't know lately what's going on. I think they're in the minority down there, of course.
Supervisor McDevitt?
Do we know how much revenue our 911 center produces?
Yeah, I think it's in our, what do we budget there? 140,000, 140 for revenue?
We get revenue from the city of Glens Falls as part of the consolidation.
And that's going away.
Yeah, that sunsets, I think, in a couple of years. We get revenue from the 911 surcharge on hard lines, or traditional phone lines.
That was like 80,000 pounds, does that sound right?
It keeps going down every year as more people transition away from traditional phones to wireless devices. And we get money through the wireless surcharge. But the one thing, and I know I've discussed it at our budget meetings, we would have expected with we know there's an increase in the number of cellular devices out there. We're not seeing a corresponding increase in the monies that are coming in from that side.
The self-reporting, these cell phone companies, whatever they send in, I think we attempted to do it a few years back. I wanted to do an investigation, to go interview all these people and see if what they're hiding. Is there any way to do it? It's almost impossible. Isn't it, Sean? Didn't we work on that last year or 2 years ago?
We did. About a year ago, we gathered all the information through the Warren County Treasurer's Office. I got PDF copies of everything that was being sent into the Treasurer's Office, and truly, any of the cell providers, it's almost like an honor system. They self-report to the county what they're turning in for taxes. And one of the things I noticed is they must go through a third party, a lot of these companies, because you see the monies are coming from the same address down, I think it was Atlanta, Georgia, when I was looking at it. And then you have, in this day and age, I was surprised to see that some of these companies are submitting handwritten forms, companies none of us have ever heard of, and saying that they have 4 subscribers in Warren County, but nobody's ever heard of these companies. Who are they? How many do they really have? We'll never know, because there's no way of auditing them. I spoke with representatives in the New York State Attorney General's office, out of their Manhattan office, discussed the issue with them over a year ago. They felt they were going to be able to resolve it. I have not heard another word back from them since, but the one thing we found is that we don't, and neither does the state, have the ability to actually do an audit of these companies. We talked about the possibility of getting a subpoena through the district attorney's office. We don't have a criminal case. We have no reason to request that. The New York State Comptroller can't even do an audit of their records. And it's like you're hitting a wall. How do you truly know what they're taking in and what they're giving back out to the municipalities?
Yes. Chairman McConnell.
Just keep in mind that whether it's $500,000 for a new tower, or a few weeks back was about $250,000 for we thought we could use the grant, but we couldn't use the grant, was that for the local
Yes.
radios?
Yes.
That comes out of the fund balance. That comes out of the fund balance. And so if it comes out of the fund balance, which we use to help keep property taxes down and do those kinds of things, the general property taxpayer is paying for it. Is paying for it. And you don't hear, just as an aside, you don't hear like we do from some on the NSTEM project, we haven't identified a revenue stream to pay for that improvement, because some of these acquisitions are not one and done projects. They have life cycle, they have costs with no recurring revenue stream to line up with the program. So I just want people to understand that. Don't think for a moment, because of the priority of public safety, because of the priority of communication, and gratefully so, it is falling for the property taxpayer presently. And as time goes on with the tax cap, our ability to find those kinds of dollars in our fund balance become less and less and less. I mean, we've done well these last 7 or 8 years. We've built up our fund balance, but our ability to continue to do that is going to be a challenge going forward.
The only constant in that, Ron, is the state can constantly count on the revenues that they're getting from that, and they know that it's over $200 million. No, they can know exactly what they're going to have in their general fund and control what goes up to the county. They
just want to make it clear that the issue you're pointing out is landing
On the tax.
on the taxpayer. There's no question about it, not on the user, it's landing on the taxpayer, directly or indirectly. And as you point out, Sheriff, rightfully so, and on the sheriff's memory, that it wasn't intended to be that way. This was supposed to be a dedicated stream for this important matter. And I certainly will support any...
Unethical politicians have stolen it, and they continue to steal and instigate it.
All right. Supervisor Brock?
Yes, is there any way, or is there a grading system for each, there are 62 counties, so there are 62 911 systems. Is there a grading system that says, you know, you're an A, you're a B, you're a C in terms of quality or whatever the requirements?
Not that I'm aware of, Supervisor.
Well,
The formula that they just started using, actually we're in the second year, Sean, of the formula-based grant. It's a combination, I'll print it up, but I don't have it in front of me. We were just told finally after 3 years what it is. Population, number of 911 calls that you answer, square miles. There's a couple other features in there. There is a formula. But again, if you're using number of calls and population, you're still giving the big chunk of the money to the counties, Rockland, and the guys down in New York City, because that's where the population and where all the calls are. So the poor people that are in the Adirondacks or in any of the small counties that don't have that volume of calls, it doesn't matter. They can't compete in the formula for that.
well, my thought was that if you could say, we're, you know, this system is here and we're here, we need more money to bring it up to here, that would be an argument. That's, you know, so if you could figure that out.
I can tell you that, I believe it was last year, it was either last year or the year before, we bought software just to track the number of calls that we take into the 911 center, because we knew that data was crucial on grants moving forward. And I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $20-some thousand. Fortunately, we were able to leverage grant money to do it, but it's monies we had to spend just to work towards getting monies in the future.
I think we've asked this question before, but it's worth asking again. Is there a model resolution or letter to the legislator, your legislator, that has been developed by the New York State Sheriff's Association or others that we could look at and possibly adopt and, you know, hand forward for the Board of Supervisors' consideration? Yes, Supervisor Seaver?
I believe this was discussed at NISAC under the 911 discussions, and I think our county attorney has done some follow-up on that. I can certainly report on that. I wouldn't mind having Mary about this.
I think the resolutions have been sent.
I talked to Pat Cummings, the NISAC attorney, and he's going to forward me all the material that was provided at NISAC, and he said there was a model resolution included in the packet, so we're just waiting on him to forward it to us.
Okay, and then at our next meeting, we could review that model resolution and see if it's satisfactory to our liking. Yes, Supervisor Frank?
Well, my take on it is you need to be a little more abrasive. I think the governor and our legislators are all tickled right to death. They've got us in this 2% tax cap because the property taxes are too high and local governments are out of control. That's what, you know, that's the mantra of what they keep telling us. Well, this is exactly why our property taxes are too high, because they're stealing the money that's to go for our services. So I think you need to be more abrasive about it and slap them around a little bit.
Me personally?
No, not you personally.
Supervisor Framer?
I agree. I think there's a lot of waste happening in Albany, and we should be speaking up more. How are we supposed to run our local governments if we don't have the money to do it?
Yeah.
Because they're holding it in Albany. I don't know if stealing, but
Because
It
we're
kind of
gonna-
looks like
If we
stealing.
had $2 million to run the 911 center, Claudia, our taxes in this county would go way down, because that's $2 million less than the sheriff's budget. even
Yeah.
has to come up with.
Yeah. I
And we're
totally
about
agree.
to raise taxes again for 2018 to fund that 911 center, and the money to operate it being taken from us.
All right, so even if we had a resolution to our liking before us and we sent it on and accompanied by letters to our legislators, how long would it take for anything to change? Might the better route be to impose, like Oneida County and 55 other counties, impose this surcharge ourselves and...
Well, I mean, John, that's just taxing our own people again.
Well, I brought up that concern
I
myself.
just can't see us taxing our own taxpayers when they're already paying for it. We ought to I think we ought to send some letters out to our legislature and the governor's office telling them that a resolution will be forthcoming. That we really want to know why you can sweep this money into the general fund when it belongs to the 911 centers. At one time, it's my understanding, Sheriff, weren't they sending it more to the state police 911 centers and we were getting short-changed because Warren County has done the dispatching up here for our county, but Wilton does some for some of the other counties. So we've been getting short-changed for a long time. It's not something new.
I'll second that, send it.
Yeah, I think we ought to send out letters. I don't think we should wait till we get a resolution. I think we need to ask for an explanation.
All right.
See what we get back.
So I'll get you the law, John, so you guys, when you're doing your resolution, you know exactly where the monies are going.
Okay,
Give some copies made of that.
all right.
Tax law.
Okay, thanks. All right, so, while we generate a draft letter or we'll just go ahead with it, what's the motion? To go ahead with a letter drafted, basically, that says, who's gonna draft it? Mary?
I'll draft it.
Let me know.
All right, Kevin's gonna draft it.
We'll draft one. We'll get it out to them.
All right.
Short and sweet. Pay
We
us.
have a motion on the floor to have Kevin,
We'll work
Acting
through the-
Administrator
we'll work
Kevin
through the
Garrity
administrative.
to draft a letter, and will it go back before this committee, or is the committee just saying send it?
Yeah, you don't need a resolution. I don't think you need a resolution, do you?
The letter.
Show consensus.
46 cents or whatever.
Yeah, but does
Yeah, maybe show
does
consensus.
this committee support that action?
Right, just to show consensus.
Yeah. All right, so there's a motion for a letter to go to our legislators, telling them, without beating them up too badly, that they should be more aggressive in their effort in assuring that the counties get more of this $1.20 surcharge so that we too can pay for our 911 systems and advance it in the way the state wants it in the future.
I'll make that a motion, sending a letter to that effect. Did we already do that? You did?
Yeah, well-
All right.
That's fine. We'll get something out. It won't be so wordy, but we'll get it out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Claudia or Kevin made that motion.
Guys, better give us
I did.
Yes, Mr. Garrity made the motion,
Claudia
seconded
Give everybody 2 million?
Yeah.
by
There you
Mr.
go.
Sokol. He said he seconded it.
Got sound like...
All those in favor of the support of this letter, say aye.
Aye.
It appears to be unanimous.
I think you ought to let Frank write it, because he's got the
Right.
right idea.
Send it on sandpaper.
That's right.
Okay.
Darn it, sandpaper.
Anything else?
Is there anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Motion made by Supervisor Sokol, seconded by Supervisor McDevitt. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. We're adjourned.
Justice.
Okay?
Can I get a copy of this?
Can I see that?